Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a user named Business Zombie in the AITA subreddit. The post is titled, "I told my husband either he comes home or I'm done. I've been with my husband for 9 years now. I just gave birth to our son 5 months ago after years of infertility. We underwent 3 rounds of IVF before we had a pregnancy that stuck. This was such a big turning point in our marriage. We got unbelievably closer despite all the grief, and for the first 3.5 months of our son's life, he was easily the most attentive and helpful man I have ever met. Life was happy. Well, his mom suddenly came back into his life when our son was 3.5 months old. She moved back to our state. There have been multiple occasions where her presence has made me incredibly uncomfortable. Like, she has come here a good 5 or 6 times since our son was 3.5 months old, never holding the baby. When my husband says, "Look, it's Grammy," his mom will raise her eyebrows and say hi before looking away. 99% of the time that she comes here, she asks my husband to go outside with her, and she started to ask my husband a lot to go to her place. Needless to say, my husband and I, along with the baby, are never invited. He says that she's just trying to catch up with him and make up for lost time, but I'm honestly just done with it. Today was his only day off this week. The baby has a spiked fever and is super cranky. I had to call out of work for the past 3 days due to this. I work from home. The house is an absolute mess. I haven't showered in 4 days. I can't put the baby down without him screaming. I need help. Well, around 10 a.m., his mom calls and says she needs him because she has surgery and needs a ride to and from. So he leaves. There was no prior notice. Well, he called me an hour ago and told me that her boyfriend is there too. So I asked him why he is still there when she clearly has a ride and a support system. He says that she just asked him to be there and he wanted to be there for her. Well, he just called me again 10 minutes ago and tells me that she's in recovery and asked him not to leave. I told him that I really needed his help and that ever since his mother has popped back up, he's been MIA and I feel like I'm doing everything alone. He told me he's sorry I feel that way and that he wants to be home with us, but his mother needs him. I guess something inside me just broke when he said that, because I'm telling him I need him and his mom needing him is more important. So I told him if he didn't come home, I was done. I would file for divorce. I'm not playing second to a mother who ditched her kids 17 years ago and has seen them all of twice since. My needing his help is more important than his mother wanting him there when she already has support with her. He says, "Are you serious?" And I just hung up. I hardly see this man anymore because of this woman, and I don't want to live a life like this anymore, even though it's only been a month and a half since this started happening. Am I the asshole? The hospital is only 15 minutes from us, so if he's not back in 30 minutes, I'm packing my stuff. Edit. I own a property that I rent out on Airbnb. That's where I will be going. No, I don't have a support system. I grew up in foster care. My biological mother died during childbirth, and my dad didn't want me. I was never adopted. My best friend moved 2 years ago. It's just me, and it used to be my husband. Fries with Shake Booty said, "I can completely imagine a first-time mom with a sick, screaming baby firmly laying down a boundary and sticking to it. She's employed and has her own place, so she may as well get divorced. Sure, therapy could fix this, but that would require her husband to see the need for healing. He won't, not while he believes mommy is back and will stay. I expect his mom will be leaving again soon though. Now that she's imploded his life again, her work here is done." Jane Murdoch said he didn't believe she'd actually go and now he knows better. Good for her. I hope her husband comes to his senses and fixes this, but she's 100% correct for showing him the consequences of abandoning his wife and new baby. Nobody should get to behave like that for free. This post was made in the same subreddit by a user named 𝖝𝖆𝖑. The post was made about a month ago and is titled, "I denied my ex his son after he abandoned us, and I took the choice to give him up for adoption. I had a baby boy when I was 16. Yes, I know how that sounds. No, we weren't careful. Judge me all you want on that front. I've dealt with that for years. Mike was my boyfriend then, and when I found out about my pregnancy, he did a disappearing act with help from his family. Something about being a future college star was involved. My parents were always blunt. What happened next was my choice. After a lot of thinking and deciding that abortion just wasn't for me, I chose to give up the baby for adoption. My parents knew a super sweet couple who were looking to adopt. We met and I just knew they were the right people. This turned a teenage mistake into an almost surrogacy-like situation. I started homeschooling to finish my education and to have some rest. The adoptive parents were with me for everything and even paid for most of the medical costs. The adoptive mother was a teacher, so she helped me with my schoolwork and prepared me for college. They were present for the birth and I refused to hold the baby. Instead, his actual mother did, and it was just right. I've stayed in the baby's life in a distant position as a special aunt. Well, he's no longer a baby and he knows who I am, but his mom is the same woman who raised him, and I continue to be his special aunt. The only change is that now he knows who to call if he needs a kidney. His sense of humor is like mine, go figure. We talk maybe once in a blue moon, which in all honesty is the best. He's happy, and I don't regret giving him up to have a happy life. For my part, I married 6 years ago. My husband Aaron was divorced from Bella on good terms. They have 2 children together, a boy who is 16 and a girl who is 19. Aaron made it clear since we began dating that his kids' approval was important and that Bella was part of his life forever, not as a spouse but as a friend and mother to his children. I also told Bella and him about my teenage pregnancy. Well, to begin with the kids, my stepdaughter and I get along well. She's obviously closer to her mother, but she still does girls' days with me every so often. It's more like a friendship though. My stepson is incredibly close to me. He calls me his other mom and always asks me to be present for important events. We bonded when his childhood dog passed away, as my cat died about the same time. Bella and I were best friends. I know people have complicated relationships with their partner's exes, but we always show respect to each other. I never tried to take her place. I know Aaron and she shared something special long before I was in the picture. That's their history, and I am a stepmom, not a mom. Her place in the kid's life is not up for competition. The reason for this background is that the whole mess with Mike started when I took my stepson to a medical appointment. It wasn't serious, though he did have to use anesthesia. Aaron and Bella both couldn't get the day off. They tried, but their jobs are on call and they cannot easily take time off. So I went on my own to be my stepson's support. I didn't recognize Mike as one of the doctors. His real name, both first and last, are incredibly common and it had been years. Not to mention, my priority was being my stepson's support, and everything else was secondary. After my stepson was done, he was a bit out of it as expected. I was setting him up in the car and making sure he was comfortable when Mike came over. He told me he had been thinking about me and our son for so long and he was glad our boy was okay. It really took me a few minutes for my brain to click on what was going on, and he kept on rambling about apologies and how he wasn't ready to be a father. Eventually, I just sighed and loudly said, "This is not the baby I was pregnant with. I gave him up for adoption after I gave birth. I am a stepmother." My loopy stepson chimed in with, "Other mom." I had to hold back a smirk, to be honest. Mike was stunned by that, and it gave me time to catch him up on the important details. I told him I gave up the baby, he knows what happened and why I gave him up. I married a man with 2 children, I am happy, and I don't want him in my life. And no, I won't give him contact information for the adoptive family. He is 16 years too late. That was the end of it, and I got into my car to get my stepson home to rest. Since then, Mike found me on social media and has been painting this sob story about me denying him a chance to be a father, how I was a poor mother that threw away her child to raise someone else's children. I'm basically the she-devil, apparently. Most of our former classmates who saw the post reminded him that he left me. Some of his high school friends even pointed out that he laughed about leaving me pregnant. I didn't know that part. A few of his relatives have reached out to bash me about taking Mike's chance to be a father, that it made me a poor Christian. I'm not. I'm Jewish to begin with. A few friends did tell me it was a B***titch move to give the baby up without telling Mike. I don't personally think I was in the wrong, but in case I decided to leave the judgment to the internet masses. So Reddit, am I the asshole? Clearing something up, the adoptive parents and biological child have a phone number to contact Mike's parents if they want. I have no say if they do or not. I just won't give Mike any information on them. Tis a Wizard said, when he abandoned you and his son, he made the choice of not being a part of his or your life, and you don't need to tell him anything else. The decision of adoption was yours and you did what you thought was right, which is normal. You didn't deny him anything, he did it himself, not the asshole. Hajpaj said, these people are completely unreasonable. Block them, block them, block them. Your biological child might decide for himself to try and find his biological father one day, but it's your job to defend his privacy until then, and make sure his decision is informed. To this, OP said, I told him everything when his parents decided it was time to tell him who I really was. I didn't make Mike into a villain, I just said he left after I told him I was pregnant and never reached out. He's been clear that while I am his biological mother and Mike is his biological father, he doesn't see either of us as parents. I am his aunt, and Mike is a stranger. 𝖝𝖆𝖆 said, the audacity. I'm glad our son is okay. You mean the one you laughed about leaving me pregnant with because, checking notes, you were going to be a college star? Get out of here, dude. It's been over a decade. You had to be told this wasn't your kid because you never even checked in after the birth with OP. Dude is lucky all OP did was smirk. We would have had words if it were me. To this, OP said, oh, trust me, I wanted to smack him, but I had the closest thing to a drunk teenager in my car who needed to get home to take a nap. So, priorities. The bad mood left me during the drive. Teenagers under anesthesia are hilarious. Update. This is probably the one and only update I'll be doing. To be honest, I have other things to do and I have my main Reddit account for lurking. I'm going to start with the important matter. A lot of people were worried about my biological kid and what he wished when it came to Mike. Well, I got his permission to post this. He spoke to Mike once a few days after I told him where he could find Mike. I won't share all the details, only the final decision. There won't be any more contact between them. The kid doesn't want a second dad, and Mike wasn't willing to be in his life unless he had the position of dad, so he's going no contact with Mike. There was more to it, but it's very personal and I feel it's not my place to share it. The kid and I will continue to have a relationship as aunt and nephew, and he knows that whatever he needs medically, I'll always be first in line to give blood, a kidney, etc. For those wondering why Mike is so big on contact with the kid, I found out a few details via his friends. Mike can have more kids, he just hasn't had a stable relationship in years, which I can believe since I finally had enough and decided to accept going to have coffee with him to get some things squared away. My husband came, of course, but he sat at another table to let me deal with it. I asked him to. The conversation was a disaster, to be honest. Mike brought me flowers and chocolate-covered strawberries, my old favorites. He treated it all like some date. I nipped that in the bud immediately. I introduced my husband and told him we were very much in love and happy, so I don't appreciate any attempts at unwanted romance. Once we sat down, he started by telling me what I knew about him having failed relationships. That he felt no woman could meet his standards for a wife and mother to his children since he already saw me as that. He claims he feels guilty for choosing college over me and our baby. He was well aware of the court dates regarding custody and that I was trying to put the baby up for adoption. When he saw me taking care of my stepson, he thought I had chickened out of giving the baby away. Seeing me be all caring of our baby boy made him think how great it would be if the three of us could be a family and maybe have a bigger family down the road. He had the gall to ask me if I would consider divorcing my husband and trying to fight for custody of our son. I have to admit, I laughed in his face. I probably was overly cruel, but I had years of stress, heartache, and judgmental encounters to drop on him. I told him all I saw in him was a coward who, instead of staying to make adult decisions, decided to run with the help of his parents. That any love I had for him died the day I had to push out a full human being, and instead of knowing I had support from him, there was a big empty spot where the dad was supposed to be. That I almost ruined my life and had to throw away prom, senior pictures, and even graduation because I was far too pregnant to party, appear in the yearbook, or walk onto the stage to get my diploma. He got to party and enjoy life while I had to fight tooth and nail for an inch of respect, yet we both had unprotected sex. The only difference is his lack of responsibility wasn't matched by his ability to satisfy a woman to begin with. After I calmed down, I simply told him I had a happy life with a man who loves me, great stepkids who are the greatest gift, a best friend who lets me be a stepmom to her children, a nephew who I adore, and who, despite our history as biological mother and child, still loves me as his special aunt rather than hating me. My family is perfect because he's not part of it, and I have no intention of living in his fantasy, and that I couldn't wait to get pregnant with my husband's child to add to that perfection. I also told him to leave our biological kid alone. He has made his choice, and it is up to him if he ever reaches out to Mike. And I also let him know I would be making a formal complaint to his hospital for his harassment. Good thing my husband took screenshots because by the time we got home, Mike had deleted all the posts. A lot of his former friends did repost screenshots making fun of him. The silver lining in all of this is that I have reconnected with my high school classmates, and to be honest, they are great people. It seems Mike is in a handful that stayed in his school hype mindset. It's been about 3 days and there are no signs of Mike. My husband did get the biggest ego boost when he overheard me going off on Mike and has been insufferable in a good way. So there's mostly good news. Hopefully one of these days we'll get even more good news since we are actually excited at the idea of having a baby together. This third post was made in the relationship advice subreddit about 5 months ago. The post is titled, "Is my relationship with my boyfriend over after this incident? Changed all the names for privacy reasons." I have been dating my boyfriend Miles for just over a year. Miles is an architect, passionate about his work, constantly sketching and dedicating time to his craft. Overall, our relationship has been great. I genuinely thought he was the one. Recently, though, something happened. A few months ago, Miles introduced me to Ava at a mutual friend's birthday party. I'd heard about her before, and now I got to meet her. She was funny and surprisingly stylish. As a fashion buyer, we ended up chatting about trends and what's in right now. I never felt weird about her, even though she and Miles have been friends for years. I was sort of glad she was in his life. She seemed like a good influence compared to some of his other friends. But lately, Miles has been more secretive with his phone, always tilting it away from me. I didn't say anything at first because I didn't want to be that girlfriend. Last week, I was at his place when his mom showed up, saying her car battery had died and she needed help jumpstarting it. Miles rushed out, saying it wouldn't take long. He left his phone behind on the coffee table. I kept myself busy scrolling through TikTok, but his phone started buzzing repeatedly. I'm not insecure, so I wouldn't snoop through my boyfriend's phone, but I couldn't shake my anxiety. After hesitating, I picked up his phone. All I saw were just work messages making me feel stupid for snooping, but then I checked everything, including the gallery. What I saw made my heart drop. Explicit photos of Ava. Some looked professional, while others seemed spontaneous, but they were all sexual. I felt like throwing up. When Miles returned, I couldn't hold back. "Why do you have photos of Ava naked on your phone?" I asked. His reaction was strange. He didn't freak out or deny it. Instead, he just stared, then said, "It's not what you think." He insisted, "It's nothing, and you're overreacting," never addressing my concerns. Eventually, he got defensive, making me feel wrong for invading his privacy. I just decided there and then that I should leave. He's been texting nonstop, but I'm too angry to respond. I can't stop thinking about those photos and can't eat without feeling sick. Why Ava? Why was she sending him that stuff, and why was he even saving them? He can't think I'm that dumb not to find out. Is this salvageable? What am I supposed to do now? Comfortable Echo said, "Do you want to salvage it? And if so, why? I could never be with someone I can't trust. You'll always wonder every time he picks up his phone and texts, comes home a little late, or grows a little quiet. Trust doesn't come back, no matter what people say. What happens is you lower your standards. You go numb. Part of you dies as you bury your head. But the guy who you can trust and who will love you and be loyal is out there, and you may miss him by staying with a cheater." Rich Ad said, "His responses are insufficient. There is no scenario in which receiving explicit photos from another woman is appropriate. He's an architect, not a fashion photographer. You don't need more evidence. You have enough to end it. You won't be the one who ruined anything or overreacted. He did that when he was disrespectful to you." Weird said, "Please have some self-respect and leave. The trust is broken. He's hiding things from you. He has naked pictures of his attractive friend. You are the joke to their hidden sexual tension. He was more upset about his privacy and convincing you that you're overreacting. If you forgive him for this, you're just letting him know that your bar is so low that he can keep lying and cheating. The breakup will be painful, but staying will be even worse." Update. First of all, thank you to everyone who reached out to me privately or responded to my original post. Whether you were understanding or trying to give me a reality check, I genuinely appreciate all of it. I know many of you advised against reaching out to him, but I decided to do it anyway. I texted him and it wasn't too long before he responded. I invited him to a cafe we used to get bagels from every Saturday morning to make him feel nostalgic and sad about throwing away our sweet tradition, and partly because I felt a public space would force us to keep things civil. He tried hugging me when he came, but I just wanted to get straight to the point. The explanation he gave me was honestly confusing. Apparently, he and Ava had dated a few years back, and he thought I'd make him drop her as a friend if I found out. He went on to say that he had deleted her nudes, but because of some storage issue, they were still on his iPad. And when his phone synced with the iPad, the photos got downloaded onto his phone. This felt like a huge reach, but I decided to play along with it until the next day when I decided to start my own investigation. I found Ava on Instagram through Miles's following list, messaged her, and asked her to get the story straight. After about 30 minutes, Ava responded with, "We never dated." Shortly after getting Ava's message, I called her and gave her all the facts. She was absolutely petrified. She said he could not possibly have her nudes. I tried to describe the photos from what I remembered, but she reassured me that not only did she not take pictures like that, there was also no possibility they existed in the first place. I was cautious, but her reaction was convincing. At that point, I felt like I was going insane. I said goodbye to Ava because this was too much for both of us. I went straight to his house. When he let me in, I demanded answers and told him to stop bullshitting me. That's when he broke down and admitted the truth. He made AI-generated photos with her face. He mumbled something about it being a mistake, but I stopped listening. I just needed to leave. Avoiding his pathetic attempts to touch or comfort me, I left his place, took an Uber home, and spent the rest of the night crying. He's been blocked everywhere. He won't be reaching me again. After I informed Ava about the vile things he had done, she started tearing up. She cried. I cried. It was a mess. I kept apologizing to her. It felt like I had some part in this horrible situation. The rest will stay private, but I'll be supporting Ava with whatever she decides to do with this information. I'm just glad it's over. My friend will be staying over for a few days to help me get through it all. Thank you to everyone who shared kind words and cared. I'm still figuring things out, but I'll be okay. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video, and thank you also to partner of the channel, 𝖝𝖆𝖆𝖆. Use code DLAM to support the channel and get 10% off of your purchase. Link in the description. I'm sure many of you like me have a hankering for daily caffeine, so go check them out. Lately, I've been a big fan of Titty Milk and Acid Rain, but they've got dozens of other flavors for y'all to try out. Anyway, thanks again for reaching the end, and I hope you all have an amazing passage of the next 24 hours.